Okay, so after 18 months with this AMEX Gold Card, I've got some stories to tell you. I've spent over £50,000, and thanks to some savvy spending and referrals, I've actually racked up a decent amount of points. And I'll not only share my honest experience with this card, but also how I earn those points, the smartest ways to redeem them, and we'll also look at whether this card is worth the £195 fee. At the end of the video, I've also included another rewards credit card, which is free, just in case that fee is a little bit too much for your liking. So if you're curious about the gold card or just want to learn how to squeeze the most value out of AMEX points, then stick around. But before I jump in, please consider subscribing. Less than 2% of you are, so if you'd like to help keep me in a job and support the channel, then please hit subscribe. Okay, let's start with a quick overview of what this card has to offer. The star attractions are the reward points. So for every pound you spend, you get 1 point, with bonus rates of 2 points per pound on airline tickets and foreign transactions, which, spoiler alert, you should avoid, and 3 points for booking via Amex Travel, which again, arguably you should also avoid, but we'll talk about that later. Plus, there's a points boost for every £5,000 you spend. You get 2,500 bonus points capped at 12,500 per year. That means you could effectively earn up to 1.5 points per pound if you hit that spending threshold. You also get delivery credit of up to £120 a year, which is £5 off twice a month for your food deliveries. And when we break down my spending from the last 18 months, you'll see that I ordered a lot of Deliveroo. Then there's travel perks like Priority Pass, which includes 4 free lounge visits per year, which I also benefited from. And then there's the insurances. This includes purchase and refund protection, travel inconvenience, which covers delays and cancellations, travel accident insurance, so you're covered if you die, lose a limb or your sight during your journey, which sounds like a pretty rough trip. And all of these are only valid when purchases are made using the gold card. The cherry on the top though, and why a lot of people choose this gold card, is the welcome bonus. And if you spend £3,000 in your first 3 months, you'll earn 20,000 Amex points. But here's where it gets interesting. That £3,000 spend also earns you 3,000 points. So in total, you're looking at 23,000 worth £103.50, which is the cashback equivalent of 3.5%. And in the UK, that's pretty decent, but that's at their lowest value. If you're smart and transfer these points to an airline program such as Avios, you could redeem them for a flight worth as much as £1,200. And I'll show you how to do this shortly. But what's even better about this card is that it's free for the first year. So if you're currently spending over £1,000 a month with no rewards, or you're planning on spending, I don't know, let's just say $3,000 on a holiday or something, then you may as well go gold and get those points. So after the first year, the card does carry an annual £195 fee, but you shouldn't think that far ahead, because depending on how much you're spending, after you've bagged your welcome bonus, it might not be wise to continue using this card. Chase UK is the MVP of cashback in the UK. That's because you get 1% cashback capped at £15. Now, to earn £15 with this gold card, you would need to spend, and this is again if you redeem the points at their most basic value, £3,335. So immediately you can see why this gold card for moderate spending up to around 1,500 quid a month might not be the best choice compared to a debit card that pays 1%. That's why it's important to consider your spending and whether it justifies actually using this card beyond the welcome bonus, because you might be better off earning 1% cashback. And for a long time, that was me. I used the Chase UK card and also another debit card as my main way of earning rewards. But then I got married, had a baby, and now I spend a lot more money. And between July 2023 and this month, January 2025, with the gold card, I have spent £50,384 and earned 172,000 points. So if we were being reckless or a bit naive and just went over to the Amex website to redeem these points with a retailer, let's just say Amazon, where 1,000 is worth £4.50, or if we just checked out using our card and clicked pay with points, which is a horrible way to redeem, this 172,000 would have a cash value of £776, or a cashback earning percentage of 1.54%, which sounds pretty good, except we can do much better than that. But for now, 1.54 is still better than Chase. And it's also better than Amex's cashback credit card, which maxes out at 1.25%. So the first question is, how did I manage to earn so many points from just 50 grand? Well, let's break it down. Month to month, I spent an average of £2,600, with December being the biggest. Thank you, Santa. But it wasn't just Christmas, we also booked a couple of holidays. And flights with British Airways were particularly lucrative, contributing to around 10% of my total. And that's because this card earns double points on airlines. But since I don't travel often, this wasn't my main earner. The welcome bonus accounted for 11.5%, while rewards as you go equaled 13%. And I basically hit the threshold on that because it's capped at 12,500 points per year. Miscellaneous spending, so Amazon, Ocado, John Lewis, stuff like that, made up 20%. But the biggest earner, well, that came from shamelessly encouraging others to sign up, which contributed to almost half of my total. And I've earned as much as 14,000 points for a single referral. Although right now it is a bit less, I think it's around 9,000. But still, if you were to redeem 9,000 at their most basic, you're looking at £40. Or even at a higher rate, you could earn as much as £128 from a single referral. So the easiest methods of redemption usually generate the least value. When you go to make a purchase online with your card, you might see the option to pay with points. I mentioned this earlier. It's tempting. This is very tempting, but the redemption rate is only 0.45p per point. And Amex wants you to use this method because they've made it this prominent button. It's highlighted, it's easy to click, but trust me, you should avoid it. The same applies to using your points to reduce your card balance, still 0.45p per point. Then there's charitable donations through Just Giving, which, while a noble gesture, doesn't really make sense if you're trying to maximize value. Next, we have Amex Travel. On the surface, this seems like a better option. You can book flights, hotels, bundles, and car rentals, but the value is still 0.45p per point. And unlike other travel reward schemes, the redemption rates do not improve for more expensive bookings or premium cabins. There are other downsides too. For one, it's a third-party booking site, so you're not dealing direct, which can create problems. You could also link your Amex account to Amazon and pay for purchases with points, but this is really silly because slightly higher up the hierarchy are gift cards, where 1,000 points are worth £5, and Amazon is available. But this is still not the smartest option. And here's where things get interesting. If you're willing to do a little legwork, transferring your points to Amex's external loyalty partners can unlock incredible value. Popular options include Nectar, Eurostar, Marriott Bonvoy, and of course Avios, which is the one I'm going to speak about in this video because it has the most potential. And I say potential because with programs like these, besides Nectar, which is fixed, the redemption rate isn't guaranteed. And if you want to get more from your points, then you'll have to hunt for deals and even be open-minded about when and where you're going. That's because the likes of British Airways have limited seats available for Avios. So if you want to get the most value, you can't really just book any old flight or hotel. The redemption rate will also be limited by how many points you have, and that's because the more expensive flights or the more premium cabins provide more value. So you could be better off using the gold card to just get as many points as possible before redeeming. But of course, like I said earlier, only do that if it makes sense based on your spending. And if it doesn't, and you're just going to get your welcome bonus, that's still fine, because although you'll only have 23,000 when transferred to Avios, that can still be worth much more than redeeming for things like gift cards or reducing your balance. For example, you could use them to cover an outbound flight to New York or a return to Madrid. And this Madrid flight on Google costs £126, so you're going to get around 0.54p per point, which is at the low end, but that's what you can normally expect when redeeming a smaller amount or booking economy. And everyone will tell you that the greater redemptions lie in the more premium classes, which is usually true. But take a look at this one-way economy flight to JFK. It costs £1,272, while on Avios, it's only 25,000 points, which means if you booked through Avios instead of paying with pounds, you'd be getting 5.09p per point, which is 11 times the most basic redemption rate. And I know this is a stupidly expensive one-way flight that you'd be mad to book on a budget, but even cheaper flights like this one from JetBlue are still over £500. So even if you're planning to score the welcome bonus and then move on, you could still do extremely well with a one-way flight like these. And obviously, if you wanted the return leg as well, you could just go and purchase extra Avios. But what about the upper classes? Well, premium economy from Heathrow to San Francisco is 95,000 points or £1,200. So that's 0.97p per point. Not bad. Business to Mexico is 180,000 or £2,700, which is 1.23p per point. And then we have these 2 first class flights, which weirdly or surprisingly require less points, with Dubai only needing 160,000 plus an additional fee, which gives you a value of 1.44p per point. So from spending £50,000 and scoring some referrals, we could fly to Dubai first class and have a few points left over. And this table reinforces what we know to be true. The more expensive the flight or better the class, the more value you can achieve. But the big challenge is availability. As I said, airlines release limited seats for points bookings, especially in those premium cabins, so you'll need to be flexible with dates and destinations, but I think this can be fun. It might push you to explore somewhere new or travel at a time you hadn't considered, which is exactly what happened to Chloe and I. Because we're a party of 3, we discovered that it's practically impossible to book something with a date in mind, even a destination. But by staying open-minded and focusing on value, we landed on absolutely nothing. I searched high and wide, considering places like Mexico, Cairo, Mauritius, and we could easily fly to some of these places using our points and via economy, but that would be a terrible way to redeem, and also I'm 6'4", so I just can't handle the legroom for that long. And I was willing to consider premium economy, mainly because we have a toddler, so business or first seems like a bit of a waste. Like, she doesn't care about comfort, she'd literally sleep in a cardboard box. But even if we decided on premium, where the redemption value is still not great, we'd need more points to cover all of us for a long-haul flight. And we're not going to use these up on a short-haul BA business flight where Club Europe is pretty average. So instead, we've decided to keep accumulating, and we're going to wait till we hit 500,000. By then, my daughter will be a little bit older and more able to enjoy business or even first class, and we can get more value from our points. But one thing we will make sure not to do, and this is something you should definitely avoid, when you go abroad, I recommend you do not use your AMEX Gold Card to spend money. One clear downside to this card is the 3% foreign transaction fee, which undermines the double point rate for spending internationally. And Amex even claims on their website that credit cards are often cheaper than debit cards for foreign transactions, but that really depends. For example, a debit card like Chase UK, which we've been talking about throughout this video, charges no fixed fees on foreign purchases or ATM withdrawals and still gives you 1% cashback. That's a much smarter way to spend money abroad. Then there's the £195 annual fee of this gold card, which kicks in after the first year. And for some of you, this might be off-putting, but there are ways to offset it. Take the lounge passes. They're hard to value precisely, but access can range from £20 to £80 per visit. So let's estimate £200 of potential value. And if you travel just a couple times a year, then you shouldn't have difficulty using these up. On a recent trip to Switzerland, I used a pass for myself and a colleague, and Chloe and I have used them on family trips with our daughter getting in for free. Then there's the £120 Deliveroo credit, which I've also redeemed in full. This wasn't intentional, but we just happen to have a takeaway habit where we get one every few weeks. So for me, these 2 perks alone made the annual fee worth it. But if you don't travel or use Deliveroo, then it might not make sense to keep the card after the first year. And at that point, you could either switch to a no-fee card or close your account entirely. And here's a tip: before you do anything, call Amex and tell them that you're considering cancelling. They may offer to waive the fee or give you a bonus to stay. Some people have said that they've received as much as 20,000 points by doing this. And if they don't, well, that's fine. You can always just switch to a non-fee card like the cashback everyday credit card. Obviously, you don't have to use that card. It's just a way to keep your account open, protect the points you've accumulated, and avoid being forced into a rushed redemption. And if you're considering switching cards after the first year or cancelling because the annual fee doesn't seem worth it, or perhaps you don't want to get the gold card at all, then a great alternative could be the Barclaycard Avios MasterCard. This card has no annual fee, so you won't have to worry about justifying any costs to keep it. Plus, it earns 1 Avios per pound, and for a free card, that's quite good. It's also a MasterCard, so you won't have the same acceptance issues you can sometimes face with Amex, which does actually also make it a great fallback option for everyday spending. Like, you could have the Gold Card and the Barclaycard Avios card. It also comes with a 5,000 Avios welcome bonus if you spend £1,000 in your first 3 months. And if you spend 20,000 in a year, you'll receive an upgrade voucher. These let you book a flight with your points in a higher class. So you could go business, but only pay premium economy points. And if you don't fancy the voucher, then you can just take 7,000 Avios instead. Of course, like Amex, Barclaycard charges a 3% foreign transaction fee, so it's not ideal for spending abroad. But if you're moving on from the Gold Card and still want to earn Avios, then this is a solid low commitment option. With no annual fee and an easy 5,000 point welcome bonus, it's hard to beat. And I would say the same thing for the Amex Gold, especially in its first year. So whether you're considering the Gold Card or deciding if it's worth renewing, I hope I've been able to help you weigh up your options. Honestly, it's an excellent card if you play to its strengths. But of course, there are other alternatives if it doesn't fit your spending habits. Thanks for watching. If you found the video useful, please give it a like and let me know in the comments if you're using a rewards credit card and why. I genuinely love hearing your thoughts and suggestions, especially because a lot of you are a lot wiser to this than I am, and I'm always learning so much from the comment section. See you in the next video. Goodbye.